Colin and the Donovan, cause that's what's that? Oh, let's get ready.
So to answer your question, I had a lovely breakfast sandwich. I made it on that waterfront sourdough, the Seattle waterfront sourdough that's like this big.
Yeah.
And so I did half was chicken sausage and half was bacon, and then egg and the normal stuff.
No deer sausage? What's?
No, it's still over at my.
Oh.
I try to limit my deer intake now.
Really? Why?
Because there's
only so much.
There's only so much.
Okay.
So I'm trying to spread it out because unless I start getting some more animals,
it just means you gotta get out, start getting after it.
Yeah.
Sounds
it
like
definitely
you're in
means that.
What does Steve Renell call it? A meat crisis.
I am in a meat crisis.
Yeah.
as it were.
Time to get cracking. You know what I'm saying?
But I did make some new venison steaks this week, which they were just so basically because my mom and I work together, right?
Yes.
I have this kind of setup now where since all the meat's over at her house in my brother's freezer, I just kind of put an order in the day before I want some venison.
And your mom.
And I'm like, all right, Ma. So this is what I want right now. I want just in the freezer. All of my packages have my name on it. My brothers don't have any names on it. So mine are just And I was like, anything that says roast and my initials, just grab that and bring it. So she brings me the biggest one.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool. So then I sent you that picture the other night of all those steak cuts.
Oh, yes.
So that's actually just off of like a rump roast that I had kind of binded before I froze it, so it's nice and solid, and then partially defrosted it, and then cut some fatty steaks out of them. And then I still had half a roast left, so tonight we're having the other half of the actual roast. But yeah, I made steaks for that night, and then everybody's various lunches the next day.
Yeah.
And they were... I mean, you hit those things because there's like no fat on them.
Right.
At all. So you hit those things on the hot barbecue out there. I got some mesquite lump charcoal, not like the briquettes kind.
Yeah.
I went super fancy, as it turned out. And I had no idea what I was buying. I was like, oh, sweet, this is good quality charcoal.
Yeah.
But got nice and hot, dude. And they were on there for maybe 2.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and they were probably they were a solid medium rare. But, like, as it turns out, when I'm cooking venison now, like, it basically just needs to be warmed.
Right.
When
we cooked them, because you and Chad obviously gave us those steaks. Thank you again, Chad. Shout out Chad. Shout out Chad, and it's full book here today.
Yeah, dude.
And
I think that was yesterday, but that's fine.
Either way. But when I made those, I pan fried those steaks, and I put them in then maybe 2 minutes, like, on each side. You know what I'm saying? Because you get just that one big fat piece. So I like cut it down the middle. Because I was like, I did that. I was like, oh yeah, we'll just have these steaks, and then after I did, I just cut them up into those slices anyway, because it was fucking so beautiful.
Yeah, right. But it's hard not to with that beautiful meat.
So yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I maybe cooked for like 2 minutes on each side, and it was still super pink in the middle. And yeah, even I took the rest like for lunch the next day, and even microwaved and like almost well done. It was still so fucking fire. Yes. Like still so good.
Dude, I'm so glad that it's worked out this way. Because I mean, I've had venison before.
Yeah.
But like not since I started hunting. And so then we finally get some, and I bring it back, and and it's one thing as somebody with like a big culinary background like mine. Mm-hmm. I knew from the processing, I was like, oh, this is going to be terrific meat, period. Just I could tell by the quality of handling it and everything. But there's still a part of my mind that was like, man, what if this shit sucks? And I'm going to this is going to devastate my whole world. And then I bit into it, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah. This is exactly what I wanted and so much more.
I gave a couple of pieces to Casey. He had never had any venison before.
Really?
And so all he had even was just the shit that was microwaved the next day, and he was still like, that's fucking fire. And I was like, bro, It was so much better yesterday. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
That's awesome. We'll talk about it at some point in the future, but I think I might gonna change my hunting game plan up this year to maximize chances at other animals like elk, bigger animals like elk, and it may involve not necessarily fulfilling my little deer tag, my specialty deer tag, because it's for a whitetail, and I'm like, it's in the middle of elk season. It's actually throughout. It's like 7 out of the 10 days of elk season or something.
That, yeah.
And I'm like, I might just do regular deer hunting around here. Open season or general season starts in about 2 weeks.
Is there? So I know, like around Squim, there's like a fuckload of elk. Like, are you able to?
In Squim?
Yes.
Oh yeah, in Squim, yeah.
Yeah. Is there a place around Squim that you can go and hunt
Word.
elk? Like, is that so people do that?
Yeah,
That's pretty common.
A lot of people do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes, if you drive through at the right time, like just the main highway into Squim, like you will have to stop because there's so many fucking elk right there, like up on that hill and shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's places over there. It gets tough kind of in the Olympic Peninsula because you're not allowed to hunt in national parks. And primarily a lot of that is not national forest, it's national park.
Right.
There are a lot of areas though that you can, and it just
you can hunt in the national forest, but not the national park. That's so weird.
Most of the time, yeah. And then,
Hunting
but
is weird,
up
bro.
there, man, yeah, all those elk are a different type of elk than like if I went to the Cascades and hunted elk. Those are called Roosevelt elk,
Oh.
and they are monsters.
Yes.
They're basically
huge.
horses with antlers.
They are enormous.
Exactly, and I want one of those.
Yeah.
So we have a Western tag, my brother and I this year, Western tag for elk, so we can do that, or we can hit part of the Western Cascades. But
I'm a big fan of that.
we'll figure it out, and then you'll get some elk meat.
Yeah, your brother's trying to get me out there with him already. And
Oh, it's a good time.
I've had this conversation just like with John a lot,
Yeah.
when he started getting into hunting and stuff like that and trying to figure out that. I'm like, when all this started, I just had to like try and decide what felt like it was most important to me, you know what I'm saying? Whether I needed to get like the personal defense shit squared away or get like the hunting shit squared away,
Yep.
And I personally felt like
You went one direction, I went another direction.
and I personally felt like if the world was to end, I can learn to hunt in the end anyway. But
Exactly.
I can't necessarily go and fucking find armor plates and shit when the world is over. You know what I'm saying? But
This is a good point. This
And
is a very valid point.
and if the forest rangers or whatever wildlife rangers don't exist anymore, then there's no one to regulate what caliber or rifle I'm hunting with. So you know what I'm saying? Like that's like been a lot of people are like, oh, like yeah, no, an AR is cool, but like you can't hunt with a 5.56. Like unless nobody's regulating anything, then
Yeah.
fucking
If there's
I can,
no government,
can hunt with this
because-
goddamn handgun and no one's
Yeah.
gonna say anything about it.
The entire government goes down from COVID because they're all 100 years old.
Exactly.